Straight from my heart. Ooh, yeah. My love. Ooh, my love. Knowing that we'll never part.
Well. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Tristan Barrocks here, the digital storyteller, and a director writer of Sugar Dumplin. This is an amazing time to be alive. We have an amazing guest for our very first episode of the Sugar Dumplin official Sugar Dumplin podcast.
We love it.
yeah, it's fantastic. I think. If we're gonna do it, we got to do it right? We got to do it right. We got to give it some thumbs up, right? But I think, again, this is such an amazing time to be alive, to be a creative, to be somebody who is a Black storyteller, West Indian storyteller, and before we get started, I just want to give you your flowers. For those of you that don't know who I'm speaking to Chantel. The Chantel, what's your middle name, Chantel? Camille? Chantel Camille Riley. Okay. This is Tristan Barrocks, by the way, the director of Sugar Dumplin. And I just want to say to you, Chantal Riley, that Camille Riley, that you are a phenomenal talent. I am so thankful for your artistry, for your gift, and your heart. This young lady, literally, her story is incredible, okay? She literally just walked on to this entertainment scene by way of an email and has been taking it by storm for the last, I think, 12, 15 years now?
Yeah.
And I want to give you your flowers because I want to say that the best is yet to come.
Amen.
There are so many things that I believe are about to open up for you with regards to, Sugar Dumpling and your role and what you bring to the role of Ebony James. And, in terms of jumping into conversation, I really want to start off with a little bit about who you are, right? Because I think, everybody knows who Oliver is. Everybody knows, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend. But tell me a little bit about, or tell us a little bit about your journey as an actress when it comes to, getting to this point in your career.
Well, let's just say that it was not planned.
Okay.
I had no thoughts or even desires of getting into acting. I just thought, you know what? I'm going to teach dance because I used to dance when I was younger and I like to sing. Sure, I'll just teach dance or something. You know what I mean? And I went to York University, got a degree in sociology just because I'm like, I don't even want to be here. But let me do something to make my parents proud, because you got to be a doctor, a lawyer, I'm like, okay, I don't want to do that. I tried the law thing, was not for me.
Yeah. Anyway,
so after I graduated, I had gotten a full-time job in insurance, got my little monies, got a car, had full benefits, and was like,
that government locked in salary, right?
Locked in, right? So I said, all right, I'm a model citizen here. Let me just enter into adulthood. And a year into the job, I was like, this is just not it. Like, God, I remember praying like, God, this cannot be my life.
Wow.
Like this, wow. Like I did not want to accept it. Like I couldn't accept it for myself. And hear me now giving God ultimatum. I said, God, you got 2 years to change this. Telling God,
2 years. So what is that?
I'm
walk us through what that's
years.
like. Talking to God and giving God ultimatum. Please walk us through.
It's actually insane. But it's also like decreeing, and the word talks about how you have to decree a thing.
Yep.
And it'll come to pass. So I look at that now as like decreeing, instead of me like just telling God like, yo, God, do it or else. It was more so like I'm decreeing a thing and I'm using my power. And at the 1.5 year mark, my dear friend and mentor, Olenike Adili, she approached me and she's like, they're doing an open casting call for Lion King. You should go check it out. And at this time I was singing in church on the worship team and stuff. And I was like, Only experience I have is church plays. But I danced, you know what I mean? And I sang at church.
Hey,
So let's
listen,
give it a shot.
listen. Hold on. Don't put no shade on church plays. Listen,
No,
some
no,
of
no.
the
No
greatest,
shade.
the
Hey
greatest.
man, we had some good cantatas, okay?
Listen, cantatas. That's what. Hold on. Let's give it up for the word cantata. I never heard of a cantata until I started to go to church and do
Never.
some stuff in church. You know what I'm saying? And so
No
no,
idea.
I love the cantata. Continue. Go ahead.
Did the Easter cantata, played Mary, you know what I'm saying? Pregnant belly, all the things, sang.
Mary, did
That's
you
like my
know
Musical.
that your
Pretty much.
baby boy? Anyways, go.
Right. Anyways, so I went to the audition, got a few callbacks, got pretty far, and next thing I know, I'm getting an email from my, now agent, because at the time I didn't have an agent, but I guess she saw like, oh, she got kind of far. Let's see what she can do. And so I get an email while I'm working, and they're like, they want to send you to Germany to audition. I'm like, yeah, let's go. So
Wow.
I take a week off work and fly to Germany. And I think I had like nothing more than like 3 or 4 days to prepare. It was a quick, like, come out here and do this kind of thing. And I went out there. I think I had to learn the songs in German. So I had to learn German.
Hold on. Is everybody hearing what this young lady said? This Jamaican young lady, okay, had to figure out how to sing. Right? She had to do all those things. Okay?
But the entire show was in German. So
Wow.
in German, auf Deutsch.
Ooh.
And I went out there, did the songs, and like on the spot, they're like, "Okay, so we wanna give you Nala." I said, "Huh?"
Nala.
I think I was like so shocked because he was like, "Are you okay? Like, are you happy with that decision?" Because I think I was just sitting there like, "Okay." I didn't realize like my whole life was about to change.
Yeah.
And it hadn't like that means I'd have to move to Germany. I'd never left my parents' house at this point.
Oh wow.
Right. And I'm in like my mid-20s. So I'd never lived away from my parents before or, left the country to like live off. Most people go to college and they leave home. I never did that. I was always home. And so now it's like my first time moving away from my parents, and it's on a completely different continent.
Wow. And
then, yeah.
No, go ahead. Finish that.
No, from there, like doors just opened up, and from Germany, I was offered the role of Nala again in New York on Broadway, and then I did that for 4 years. We did a whole fresh new campaign, so I have billboards in Times Square, which was insane because even with that, like I remember, I don't know if you remember who Shiraz Sadiq is, but he used to be a youth pastor at the church we went to, and they came to my premiere, my first day. And we were talking and we were looking at like the old like billboards and stuff for the show. And he's like, "You're going to have a billboard soon." I said, "I receive it in the name of Jesus." Right. And I remember just praying about that. Like, God, I want to be on the billboards in Times Square kind of thing. Just pray to live it alone. 2 years later, they come to us. "Hey guys, we're doing a new campaign for the show. So we're going to do like new commercials, new photos." And so now to this day, it's been probably about like 8 or 9 years since we did that promo that they're still using.
Okay. So, this is crazy because I've been wanting to ask you this for literally the last 3 years, okay, since we've reconnected. Because every time I see that commercial, okay, for the commercial for Lion King, I'm like, that looks like Chantel, but I'm like, nah, maybe it's just the makeup or whatever else. But I'm like, no, I know the side of this girl's face. Okay. All right. Like we've done enough work together, filming together. Like I know your face. And I'm like, I want to ask her if that's like her jumping with,
That's me.
That's you.
That's me. So like even right now, like the commercials are running a lot in Toronto because the show's about to open in Toronto again, which is so exciting. So when you see the commercial, you see the girl doing all of that. That's me.
That was you. Well, big up yourself. Big up yourself. Well, listen, no. I love the fact that, again, one of the things that I'm realizing, even with my career and my journey, my creative journey, is that like every person's journey is their own. And there's a level of autonomy, and there's a level of care, and there's a level of grace that is packed into that journey, right? And it's funny because it makes me think about all of the things that the things I thought were mundane at the moment, the things that I thought I didn't really want to do, I didn't need to do, that have allowed me and led me to this point where we are, right, with this film.
Right.
And one of the things I was always curious about was, this, obviously as an actress, you're in New York, you're doing Broadway. Broadway is a very grueling sort of like part of your life, right? Many people don't know that like most Broadway actors, you get a decent amount of pay. Like it's good. You can build a life around it, but you're working like 6 or 7 days a week sometimes. Well, maybe 6 days a week, you get a day off, but you're doing like, you're doing like 7 to 8 shows, right? Within those 6 days.
A week, sometimes 9.
Right. And so there's not a lot of work-life balance. There's not a lot of opportunities to do anything else, right?
Yeah. Especially when you are a principal role, it's a lot more difficult to go out and be like, oh, I'm going to be on this TV show. Yeah. They'll probably let you out to like do a guest star role, which might be like 2 or 3 days on set. You know what I mean? I was able to do my first film, which is called Race, the Jesse Owens biopic. They allowed me.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that was your first. That's my
role. First ever film. Yeah. And when I did that, I was like, I love this.
Go check it out. Go check it out. No, because it also stars Jesse Owens is played by
Stephon James.
Yes, exactly. Stephon James, exactly.
Yes, so that's how I met those guys, and so they've always been really cool. And so that's when I got more introduced into like the film world, and I was able to get some time off here and there to do that. They were very lovely to let me out of the time. And then it was time to leave the show, and I was like, okay, God, this is it. Like, I want to do film and television. Then you do the thing at that time was pack up, go to LA, and hope for the best. Yeah. And then I did, and I was out there for like pilot season, and then like did acting classes and stuff. And then my first TV role was a Canadian series, so I had to head back home. Because then I played Trudy Clark in Frankie Drake Mysteries, and we did 4 seasons of that, which was incredible.
Big up yourself, Frankie Drake. Yes,
it's a fun show, man. I'm so grateful to this day, like to that show and to the girls. Like we had so much fun, and it really allowed me to learn a lot more about the industry and about like the behind the scenes stuff. And then from there, just did more TV. I was able to do a little bit of Suits, and then the spinoff we did Pearson with Gina Torres' character, Jessica Pearson, and films and more TV stuff. And then was praying God, like I really want to get my hand at producing. I feel like there's so many more stories that are not being told, and I want to be able to be the one to kind of make them come to life. And there's so many creators out there that are not being given the chance and the opportunity. Like, how do I do this? Anyways, cut to meeting with you again. Approached me.
Well, this is the thing that really blew me away, about you, right? Was this, I felt like, we've known each other for darn near almost 30 years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we met in 2002, 2001, somewhere around there. Yeah. Because we all had so many mutual friends and colleagues. And so it was just kind of a natural fit to somehow do something together. But I had never really... I had admired your work from afar. I'm sure you'd seen some of my work. And at that time, when we first met, I was really doing more music, theater, performing arts, but I wasn't doing it at a professional level, at least not in a professional mainstream way. And so I think, back, about a year and a half ago, I had gotten to a place in my career where I was just like, I really want to make this thing happen with directing, because a few years prior to that I had a really a crucial moment in my
Right.
life where I lost a job and I had to make a decision about betting on myself and betting on what I believe God has placed in my heart to do, and that worked out really well, but I still
Right.
wasn't necessarily at where I wanted to be. And so I
Yes.
start to think larger than myself, because oftentimes as creatives we think, man, we got to do all the things, right? And what does that mean? We got to be the promoter, we got to be the writer, we got to be the producer, we got to star
All
in
the
it, we got to
things. Oh
all
my
of
God.
these things. And the reality is that there's a there is a blessing and
Yeah.
a wisdom to understanding that you need to build out and scale your team. Your team can't just be
Definitely.
you, right? And so
Definitely.
that was kind of where my journey led to, when I started to look and identify. First, I identified that I need my wife in the business, and she identified that she needs to be in the business as well. But then the second identification was like, who are the people that were like-minded, that kind of understood the business aspect of things, the creative aspect of things, but then also were good people, and were people that understood that, like, they had to be people of integrity, high character, and that I could vet through other people. And you were one of the people that were top of the list. You were the first person I really approached in terms of like doing anything together outside of like, people I had already worked with, in significant ways. And so, yeah, tell us a little bit about, like, you were saying you wanted to
I wanted to
discover or get
produce.
into producing,
Yeah.
and then
And
what
just like
happened there?
collab. And an opportunity had come up, and it just didn't work out. And I was like, okay, God, like, I thought that was it. What's up?
Mhm.
And then pretty much an hour after I, turned down that project, I got a call from you. And you're like, hey, man, got this project, Sugar Dumplin. It'd be so great to work with you, star in it, executive produce, da 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 da. And I was like, dude, you have no idea. Like, I literally just turned down a project an hour ago,
Yeah.
and you called. That's, I'm like, this is divine alignment
Yeah.
through and through. Like, from that moment, I already knew God's hand was on this project, because the fact that you called, and then even like, all the things we went through, like,
Yeah.
trying to find our Desmond, couldn't
Yeah.
find the Desmond. We wanted to shoot in October, couldn't. We tried
Jeez.
January, still couldn't find that Desmond. And then you're like, what about Oliver Samuels? And I was like, you have all of our money, because this is a self-funded, true indie project.
Now touch me.
Right. Not indie like, yeah, here's a $5 million budget indie. No.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is from our bank accounts, people. Okay?
So let me ask you this, right? Because I think there's so many things, so many ways we can go with this conversation, but I really want to hone in specifically on why this project, why now, why you, like, why did you feel like this was the right fit for you? What
Yeah.
spoke to you?
I think the story touches, it's close to home. My grandmother, she passed away with dementia. And so it was almost like a no-brainer. You know what I mean? Not only did it show experiences that I had experienced within myself, but it was from the lens of a Caribbean household, which is not something that we see very much on film or even in television globally. And I feel like we have so many stories that need to be told. And I'm like, what greater way to step into this producer role than with a story that celebrates my culture and that talks about my culture. And, I watched my mother suffer through dementia, and my grandmother go through dementia, but also I was able to watch my mom care for her. And so there was a point where she was staying with us. And remember, this time I wasn't really at home very often. I was like back in LA or something. But when I did come home, I would see my mom taking care of her, and she would go every Sunday religiously after church to go make sure she's feeding her for lunch. And just seeing that transition, like from her just, fortunately falling deeper and deeper victim to the disease. And so to see my mom, what she went through. And so I kind of just took on what my mom went through, and I talked to her about it as well, just like her experience through that. Like, what was she feeling? How frustrated was she? Because it was very frustrating. Although they had a relationship, but still, like, they're not who they are, And so I could only imagine how difficult that was for my mom to see that, to see her mother pretty much go back to being a child and not remembering her.
Yeah, I think that's the one of the biggest things that's been the most eye-opening and devastating for me to really do is to hear the stories of people who are actually dealing with this or have dealt with this with their family members, and then hearing them say, like, as they're watching the film, this is me, this is my story, this is my experience. And to be honest with you, I mean, the big, the $1,000 question or $1 million question is like, hey, Tristan, has this happened to you? And I can't say that it has, right? Not, and that's not to say that I haven't dealt with mental illness within my family.
Right.
Definitely. And I pulled from those threads, the threads of like, somebody who is in severe mental decline or is having a mental breakdown and can't identify you, doesn't understand that, that you're not a doctor that's trying to hurt them, but you're a family member that's trying to help them. And so it has a devastating effect because it's an erasure of somebody's history and personhood and identity and family, right? And language and culture. And so it's, I recognize that although I didn't experience it directly through family members, with Alzheimer's or, dementia in terms of a diagnosis, I have experienced the effects of mental illness in different capacities that kind of helped me write this,
Yeah. And that's what was so important, is because, this is more than just like a film, right? It's like a call to action, I feel like, too, when it comes to the mental health industry as well. And I feel like within the Caribbean household, and maybe even not just within the Caribbean household, it's not something that's talked about or discussed very often, maybe because we don't even want to imagine our own parents experiencing something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we don't talk about it very often. My mom always says, just please, whatever you do, don't put me in a home. I said, Mom, I would never. You know what I mean? So we had those conversations because I'm sure, like, seeing her mom go through what she goes through, that's the last thing that she'd want for herself. And I wouldn't want that for my parents either. But like, the conversation needs to happen and the awareness needs to happen. And like, there's things that you can do to pick up on it sooner, you know what I mean? To get them aid and all the care that they need faster. There's fantastic supplements and herbs that they can be incorporating into their lives even now to fight against it or even to slow it down. You know what I mean? But these discussions aren't happening enough because I feel like we don't see it enough. It's not talked about. And another reason why I jumped on this project was because this was going to be like the first time in a while that I got to see or hear Jamaican patois, like, for real.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because I think this is something that I'm super passionate about. But I would love to hear your POV on it, and then I'll jump in after.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the films. We've seen the Stella Got Her Grooves Backs. We've seen the Cool Runnings. We've seen it all, right?
Yes, we have.
We've seen it. And then every once in a while, you get a movie like Shatta's, and you hear it, and you're like, okay. But like, what if we saw something that wasn't necessarily like gangsta, or wasn't just like super fake Jafaican, as we like to call it? You know what I mean? Like, what if we actually had authentic storytelling with our authentic language being told? And so, like, working at Mr. Samuel's, again, insane.
It was a blessing. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Like, and he just like lit up the place. You know what I mean? He just completely lit up the place. And so to see him also dive into the dramatic side of things. You know what I mean? We're so used to seeing him as this comedic person and just with, on time comedy ready, like, you know what I mean? But
ready like Freddie.
So great. Yeah. It was so great to see him step into this space of vulnerability.
I think it was really, there's so much happening, right? Because I think I felt vulnerable because this was my first sort of official way into the world of writing and being a writer, a screenwriter. And so I was really very hesitant to be like, this is the way all Jamaicans speak. But I also wanted to give a level of honor and a level of consideration to the sound and the cadence and the rhythm of patois, the language. I call it a language of patois. And one of the things that I really want to push back on was this idea that everything that we create, and when I say we, white, black, brown, BIPOC, racialized people, if you don't want to use the term racialized people of color who have culture, a certain type of culture that's non-European. I wanted to decentralize the white gaze, the white perspective from everything that we create. And I really want to lean hard into, no, this is how we speak. Right. You're going to come into our world, right? If a film is supposed to be immersive, it's supposed to be transformative, then you come into this world, right? Don't ask me to come to the party and then use your herbs, your 7 herbs and spices. No, I'm going to use mine. I'm going to use my jerk seasoning. I'm going to do it the way. You feel what I'm saying? And so there's a level of rebellion I have inside of myself as a Black West Indian creative that says, no, I don't really think we need subtitles. I don't think we need to explain, the language of it. It's okay. You'll be all right. If you've ever been to the West Indies, you've been all right. Right? Yeah. You've figured things out, right? Yeah. And so, because I just feel like everything that we do, especially in Western, in Canada and North America, in the United States, it's always designed and packaged and presented from the standpoint of, will a white audience accept this?
Well, of course. And
so I just really wanted to push against that sort of idea.
Love that.
And also with regards to Oliver and patois, one of the things I appreciated the most was the fact that Oliver was so giving. He was such a giving person when it came to, being able to tweak things and say, no, I don't think I would say it like that. I would say it like this. I want to say it like that. Right. And so my whole thing was, okay, how can we lean into this expert of the patois language, right?
Right.
And not try to be so beholden to the screenplay, but be beholden to the spirit of what the story of that the screenplay is trying to tell, right? And so all of these things are happening. Absolutely. And at the same time, deep down inside, I'm like, oh my God, that's Oliver Samuels. That's Oliver at Large. That's Melika Dana. And I'm like, what is going on right now? What is going on?
You know what blew me away was just like, he was so nice.
Yeah.
He was so warm, so welcoming. Like, he made everybody feel like they were on the same level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he made sure everybody was cool. Like, he didn't come off as pompous. Because the first thing people asked me, like, well, how was it working with Oliver Samuels? Like, what was he like? I was like, it was like being with my dad. Like, I still call him dad. You know what I mean? It literally was that.
And he
like,
still calls you his daughter.
So cool. Yeah, even though sometimes you forget my name.
What's her name again? My daughter.
What's her name again? Chantal
Riley. Yes,
I can't wait to see him again. But I'm so looking forward to getting this film out.
Yeah.
And allowing the entire world, not just our Caribbean people and the Caribbean diaspora, but like the entire world see why he is a living legend. Yeah, why we call him that.
And I think again, you kind of spoke about how it was working with him from your POV. Before I jump into sort of my perspective, I think it's super important to ask you this question. Sure. You're approaching a character that has gone through a similar type of experience, that you've gone through with your grandmother or a family member.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're also working with this comedic legend, this icon, right? What was it like from and what was it like, and what was your mindset in terms of approaching this role, working across from Oliver, from the standpoint of the first table read to then the first time we call action and you guys are sharing the screen together?
Well, before we had even had the table read, I had written the script. I read it probably like a few times.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And every time, because then I was like, I would give suggestions or whatever, and there'd be edits and stuff. And every single time I read it, I cried. And so now to come to the table read, and this is a virtual table read, by the way.
Yeah.
To hear his countenance on it and the language, the patois itself being spoken, like it made it that much more real. And then now cut to meeting him in real life. We did the little photo shoot. We did the little thing there. Hilarious. Great time. And then the table read in person was like chills again. You know what I mean? And now to set, it was like he made it very easy for me to drop in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing, when you're working with somebody, you hope that you're able to do that, and you hope that you're able to have that chemistry, because it's not always like that, unfortunately, when you're working on set with people. Sometimes it's a little bit harder or it takes a little bit longer to get there. But he's been doing this for so many years. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of us, there was some point where we were like, okay, it's drama though. It's drama. It's different. Is he going to be able to handle this? You know what I mean? We've never seen him like this before.
We've never seen him like this, right? And everybody...
We've never seen like this, yeah.
And that's the interesting thing, is that even when I tell people, oh yeah, we have Oliver, oftentimes people are like, oh my gosh, it must be hilarious and whatever else. And I'm like, that's not really the movie that we made.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. We definitely have threads and through lines and moments that are like, yeah, that's you got to have that. That's all of that's the Oliver isms, I call them. But I think the thing that I'm most excited about is for people to get a new found revelation of Oliver the dramatic actor.
Totally.
And I also feel like, people say all the time, don't meet your idols, or not even your idols, but your heroes, right? Because you're probably going to get disappointed. And I could not. I think that particular saying, when we're speaking about Oliver himself, that's totally wrong. I think
completely
meeting Oliver was one of the biggest joys of my life. It was the biggest honors of my life. My uncle, who I call my second dad, he used to call me Oliver Jr., little Oliver, right?
I can see that.
And so when I met him, I knew that there a lot of my identity, and a lot of, especially when it came to West Indian understanding, like my Jamaican heritage and humor and things of that nature, came from him and came from watching his show and other things. But I didn't understand how much I just absorbed by osmosis, right? And so it was really one of those things that I was very, very proud of. To be able to sit down with him, to look him in the eye. And for him, one of the first things he said to us was like, he said to me, Tristan, just whatever you need me to do, that I'll just do it for you. All right, just I am your instrument, and you can just tell me what you want me to say and how I want to say that stuff. And I said, Oliver, but
do that too good.
I was like, Mr. Samuels, I want you to know that I trust you. Yeah, but you're the director, and I am the muse.
Yeah, he was so ready and was so respectful. He didn't want it to seem like, hey man, like I'm Oliver Samuels, and he definitely didn't come off like that at all. Like he came ready to work.
Yeah,
like he was ready and was like I said, just dropped in. And there's a scene that we shared that every take was like, ugh, gut-wrenching. And sharing that moment with him was so beautiful. And it was so beautiful to see him like that. to, and like I said, in that more vulnerable state.
Let's talk a little bit about like the importance of like this film from the standpoint of, and not even just this film, but what's happening in the West Indian, specifically the Jamaican diaspora, when it comes to new storytelling, fresh storytellers, fresh voices coming out of Jamaica, out of Barbados, out of Trinidad, out of out of other places in the world, but coming from the diaspora of the West Indies.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's so refreshing to see people within the diaspora now sharing their content, but it's like, it's not what we expect. You know, sometimes you think, and I don't like to say this, but like it's a little jing bang or, whatever, because they're doing what they got. But no, it's like, it's not. It's like cinematically stunning work. The actors look beautiful. And, we've recently just had the Bob Marley movie come out. And I feel like that's going to be a good way to kind of open the gates a little bit more for more Caribbean storytelling, even though that was about a specific person. It's like, there's still so much more story to tell. We can be dramatic. We can be comedic. We can do horror films. We don't want a dopey movie, but, like, but look, the doppies are there. You know what I'm saying? The dopey stories are there. Like, there's so many stories that we can tell, and we could tell it beautifully, and it could look just as cinematic as their Scorsese film. Like, you know what I mean? It could look just as, and it could be written just as beautiful as well. So, or, just as intellectual as Christopher Nolan. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why can't we do that?
I love that you say that, because I think, one of the things that I wanted to do as a director was realize the potential of Jamaican storytelling in a multifunctional and multifolded way, multidimensional way. Like, I was tired of the blunts, bumbleclots and bashments. You know what I mean? Like, that's all great. I understand.
Love it. It's who we are. Dancehall queen, one of the greatest.
Exactly, right? Walk on, live, talk on, yo. All right, right.
Yeah,
we all know.
right.
We understand.
We all know. Yes,
we understand all that stuff. But what I will say is that like we're not a monolith, right? And I also think that there's also something that has to be said about this idea, Chantal, of defining, well, what does it mean to be Jamaican? Because if it only means being born on the rock, then we're isolating, and we're pushing away so many people who identify the core of who they are identifies as Jamaican, right? But they may have not been born as Jamaican citizens, right? And so, but they've been raised as Jamaicans.
I know when I meet people, I'm like, I'm Jamaican. Like, but I mean, like, I'm from Canada, but like, I'm Jamaican. Because, and we talked about this, we grew up in a Jamaican household.
Yes, we did.
Like, what does it mean to really be Canadian? That Canada is so diverse. You know what I mean? And a lot of immigrants have come, and so there's a lot of first generationers like yourself and I, that were raised in a household of Jamaican parents. So that's all we know.
And I say it like this, and I totally agree with you, Chantal, because it's like, listen, like, our parents, made the difficult decision, the tough decision to leave Jamaica,
right,
at a time where there was opportunity abroad to build a better life, because many Jamaicans, let's be honest, in the early to mid 70s, there was a lot of political turmoil. The economy wasn't great in Jamaica. There wasn't a lot of opportunities to build the type of life that you saw in the United States, or you saw in Canada, or you saw in England.
UK.
Yeah. And so for a lot of our parents, they just chose to sacrifice everything they knew for the opportunity to build a dream. And they started from ground up, from scratch. And so I will be forever in debt to them. But one of the things that I also acknowledge, and I didn't understand it as a child, because I was a child. I didn't understand. I was living in another country, a different country than my parents grew up in. When I was in their home, I was being raised as a Jamaican.
Yes.
I wasn't being raised as a Canadian.
As a Canadian kid, what is that?
I was being raised as a Jamaican, learning how to survive and adapt within a westernized North American context. And for a long time, I thought like, well, I'm Canadian and my parents are Jamaican. I'm not Jamaican because I wasn't born in Jamaica, and maybe I don't know how to make ackee and saltfish right now, right? Which I know how to do now. So folks, calm down. Right? I hear you. He don't know how to make ackee and saltfish at festival. How can you be a Jamaican and you can make ackee and saltfish at festival? And relax.
I wasn't gonna judge,
but I'm judging anyways. Girl.
I'm judging anyway.
But I say all that to say, that through this process of making this film, writing this film, thinking about this film, and also continuously visiting and going back to Jamaica and connecting with more Jamaicans, I recognize that I am a Jamaican. And I'm not going to, but I also recognize that I was born in Canada, and I recognize the privilege and the responsibility of living in those two worlds. I can't say that I'm not Canadian because I had a Canadian experience, but I also can't say that I'm not Jamaican because I was raised Jamaican with Jamaican values and with a POV of a Jamaican born person, right? Yes. And so this is what makes up who I am. And somebody said something really unique in our screening when we did a private market screening at TIFF a few weeks ago. They said, it was Tracy Moore, and she said, thank you for showing our story. And she specifically said, showing the story of Jamaican Canadians, those kids that were born in this country to Jamaican parents, but were never really of this country. And we're trying to find their voice and living in two different worlds. I could never seen it. We've seen the American version of that. We've seen the UK version of that. We've seen, we're seeing the Jamaican version of that, but we've never seen the Jamaican Canadian story represented in that way. And so I'm really, really excited about people seeing this film. What are you most excited about when it comes to this project? When it comes to when people get to sit down and actually see this film?
I'm really excited for people just to see and hear something different. Again, just going back to our heritage, our culture, our the way that we speak, the food that we eat, and seeing it from a different lens that they may be used to, all the funny videos they see on Instagram and TikTok of Jamaicans, how they be acting, but like to see something more grounded and to see a story that really could be told from any different culture, any different lens, because it's not just a Jamaican story. It's not. It's not. It's a story about family. It's a story about restoration. You know what I mean? And it's a story about diving into mental illness. And those are all different factors that people of any culture or any race can experience. It's a human story. And so I'm excited for people to be connected to the humanness of it, but also get a little taste of what our music sounds like, what our food looks like, what a Jamaican patois actually sounds like, you know what I mean? And just get a different view into our world than what they're used to seeing elsewhere. You know what I mean? So when we start doing this festival run, God, please get us into every single one. You know what I mean?
Well, this is the thing, right? Like, I think there's so much to be said about what you said, like I think ultimately we want to tell an authentic story, right from our that just happens to have Jamaican characters and Jamaican culture in it because it's from our POV. But I also think that there's something to be said, and you touched on it a bit, in the sense of like, bringing people together, right? Allowing people to see themselves in the stories that we tell. And I think I love, listen, I'm a big Marvel fan. I'm a big,
Of course.
I'm a big, like, I'm into anime, but not as much as you are.
Yeah, me.
I'm getting
100%.
into K-pop. I'm getting into a lot of different genres, and I love all that
Yeah.
stuff. But there's something about those sort of human narrative, dramatic stories that really allow us to have conversations.
Yeah.
And, like, my hope is, like, if people can walk away and be like, I'm gonna have that conversation with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ask my mom about that she keeps
Well,
on
what's the
slipping that
plan?
thing,
Like,
that thing that she
yeah.
keeps on slipping on, or the plan, the will,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna talk to my daughter, because I feel like I need help with something, right?
Totally.
I want this to be, and I've said this a lot lately, is I want it to be a campfire. I want it to be something that brings people together. And for those of you, since this is a Jamaican film, I want it to be a Dutch pot that's fried dumpling. Okay, campfires for the white people, Dutchy pot is for the Jamaicans. Okay, we're gonna and we're gonna fry some chicken in there. We're gonna fry some fried dumpling, right? With some saltfish and some colorless things.
100%.
I want it to be. I want it to be a central place where people can come in and commute and have some conversations. Again, if I could distill this film down to one question, it's like, how do you love somebody you don't like? How do you wrap your arms around somebody who you just don't jive with, you don't connect with on a personal level, right? Outside of them being your blood relative, why would you be around them?
Right.
And so it seems like a simple question, but it's a real question that we always have to ask. And I know I've asked myself that. And, and so these are the types of things that I would love to see in terms of, feedback and having conversations with others about this film. Are there any other things that you want to touch on in terms of the film, talking about the film, or are there any exciting projects that you're working on?
Well, just going back to the film, like, I'm really excited for our first premiere.
Yes.
I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Our first premiere is actually in Jamaica. Okay.
Big up yourself. Go.
Stupid. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to, like, this premiere and then, like, the premiere when we have it at home in Toronto, because it's like we're bringing it home.
Yeah.
And then we're bringing it to our home, like in, Toronto. So, like, you're seeing, like, we're going to get to see the Jamaican, what they have to say, how they react to it. Because of course everybody loves Mr. Samuels, so I'm sure he's really excited. We're getting a lot of feedback already, and then, like, premiering it at home and just seeing how people relate to it as Jamaican Canadians, as first generationers and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to those two premieres. I think it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, I'm. Again, our people. And when I say our people, Jamaican people, they're very, very vocal. They're very, very opinionated. They're very honest, right? They'll look at me and say, "Your face is broad. What's going on? Lose weight, you fat young man." Right? Let's look at you like that. I love you with the love of the Lord. Praise God, right? I think one of the I think one of the things I'm excited about with you in terms of the premiere is, like, allowing people to see the beauty, the artistry, and the potency of a short film. I think people may not understand what goes into making a short film, the cost of it, the timing, the dedication, the attention to detail. And I think we're so used to cheap and accessible content that is really long and that is really robust, that we don't necessarily recognize the power and potency of short form content. I think we do to a certain extent, like if we go on YouTube and stuff like that. But I think from, like, film and television, we really are so accustomed to such a high level of premium content,
Totally.
for such a cheap price that we don't really recognize and understand how much goes into even a minute worth of television or film, right? In terms of the cost per minute, the amount of man hours, the amount of focus, dedication, all those sort of things. And so, again, could you kind of talk a little bit as we wrap up, the importance of understanding that this is an independent film and what that means?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's so cool hearing people's responses to the film. And the first thing they say, especially like Jamaican, be like, oh, like this is good quality. This is good quality. Like they look like it looks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you said, the process to getting it to that good quality, it takes a lot of, well, first of all, shout out to our crew, because a lot of those people took a ginormous pay cut, and some even just volunteering their hours to help with this film. Getting the equipment, getting the lighting, renting out spaces, feeding the cast, like all these things take money. Even like when we do these premieres, when we do these festivals, even entering into festivals takes money. Yeah. And so, of course, doing it independently makes it feel more like, this is our film. And I think indie films are so important because it gives a chance to take some time to see some storytelling from a different lens. Not like from the major, like you said, the major blockbuster Marvel films or the remakes of every single movie that has ever been out that's happening right now in Hollywood. And I'm so tired of it. It's like, that's why I'm like, I want to produce. That's why it's like these indie films are so important, is because how many times are we going to see a sequel, a prequel, a remake of something that's already been done, when there are millions of creatives, millions of storytellers, millions of writers that are just dying to get their story told. Yeah. And then you get to that point where you're like, F it, man, I'm gonna just do it myself. And like, it's like, thank God. And I applaud those people. And even for us, it's like, it wasn't easy getting this together. You know what I mean? Especially from the financial standpoint, like we had to dig deep. And shout out those people that did donate when we had our GoFundMe and stuff like that. And people that have been, sponsoring and all that stuff has been great. Like, it's been wonderful, but it's like, we need help. Yeah. Help your local artists, people. Please help them out. Because there's stories out there, because I know I'm not the only one that's tired of seeing the same thing every day. But it's like, what are you doing to support your artists in order to get the stories to come out there? You know what I mean?
I think it's twofold, Chantal. I think people need to value authentic art coming from their community, right? Totally. And they need to see the value in that. I think as Black consumers, we find value in other communities' content, or content that is targeted for us, produced by other communities. But when it's produced by us ourselves or within the community, there's often times of like questioning the validity of it, the integrity of it, whether or not it'll actually happen, all of those sort of things. And I can straight up just tell people, I'm a person that says I'm going to do something and I do it. And I have a track record of that. We have a track record of that as a team. But I think the other side of it is we Black entertainment, storytelling, Black filmmaking, Black television is in its infancy. And when you're in your infancy, that means you have to be willing to be a trailblazer. That means you have to be willing to sacrifice for the next person, the next generation, so they have something, right? The reason why Hollywood is the way it is, were because there was a group of people, there's a community that came together and said, hey, we wanna tell stories that shine a greater light to our own experiences and history, but then also we want to be able to kind of change the narrative of just different experiences, different how entertainment is presented. And because those people sacrificed 80, 100 years later, because if you look at Disney is over 100 years. If you look at Warner Brothers, it's been over 100 years. If you look at Paramount, it's close to 100 years, if not over 100 years. MGM is over 100 years. All of these studios were owned by and run by, different people within a specific community. And then they just kept on doing it and passed it along generation by generation to the point where now they're a large conglomerate. And I think we're missing that sort of distribution element. We are very quick to be in front of the camera. We're very quick to pick up a camera and create stuff, but we don't understand that this is the film industry. This is the entertainment industry. We understand the entertainment part. We don't understand the industry part. And the industry part is what's going to allow us to make more entertainment. But there will be no entertainment if there's no industry understanding, right? And so that's the part I think that we're missing, and we need to really build. We need to build our own platforms, our own streaming platforms.
Absolutely.
So whether you look at Roland Martin or you look at Kev on Stage, and they have their own distribution platforms. Whether you look at the partnerships that are happening with Hooray and Issa Rae, and Tubi, or you see Hillman Productions, right? Or Hillman Graduate Productions, I should say. Different things, right? Oprah at one point had OWN, right? And now she still has a share in it, but she doesn't necessarily own the whole network and run it, right? But there has to be a way for us to create content, keep the IP, the intellectual property, and to be able to disseminate it. But I don't want to get too technical, but I think that was important. Because
and that really happens when the community works together, like you said. It's community, and it's like getting a group of people, a large group of people that believes in the dream and the vision, and that's willing to make that thing happen. Because like you said, you can't do it by yourself. You know what I mean? It takes a team. And I would love to be able to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, let's distribute our own stuff.
Absolutely.
We don't have to always go to the Netflixes and whatever. Why can't we just have it right here?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's coming. I think it's coming, and I'm excited because I think not only just Sugar Dumplin, but there's so many other film production companies coming out of the West Indies that are producing some amazingly high level stuff. And I think, again, there's people, I'm thinking about Have a Ball Productions. I'm thinking about Yard Bridge. I'm thinking about, so many of these other production companies coming out of Jamaica that are doing some really dope stuff. And so I'm really excited about the potential. Let's talk really quickly. Just tell us a little bit about how people can get a hold of you if people want to work with you, and some of the projects that you're working on, and then we'll wrap it up.
Cool. So you could find me on the Instagrams and the Twitters at Chantel_Riley. There you could follow me in my journey of whatever's going on in my life. I'm trying to do better with posting. You'll see some more. There's some more things coming, but like I said, I'm doing more producing stuff. I'm getting into writing. I have some projects that are lined up, even some more projects between you and I, Tristan, that I'm excited for us to jump into and share with the world. But I also love travel and I love fashion. So you see all that stuff on there as well. And I'm working on a mentorship program to help newbies into the industry, into the film and television industry as actors. So I'll be releasing that very soon. If you want to work like one-on-one with me, if you need help with self-tapes, all the other stuff, I'm going to be doing that. What else? I have a kids boutique called Sweet Riley. You could go to shopsweetriley.com and get your little ones some gears. I also wrote a children's book. Hold on. It's called I Am. It's precious affirmations, and some beautiful illustrations by Janice Barber in here. It's just like cute little affirmations that are simple to read for you and your kids.
Awesome.
You know what I'm saying? Just to remind them of how powerful they are and such and such. So, what else? Is that it? Website coming soon. More stories being told soon.
Yes.
All the things.
All the things. Well, listen, no, honestly, Chantel, like I said before, I can't wait for everybody to see your performance in this film. Like I told you before, you are my Michael B. Jordan. and I am your Ryan Coogler.
Yes.
I my prayer is that we can grow together in our careers, and as we gain opportunities, that we don't forget about who our source is, and then also
Absolutely. Amen.
we won't forget about how
That's
to
Jesus, by the way. In case you guys.
yeah, it's not the universe. Just saying, it's God.
Just
the
being
provider.
clear.
Okay.
Yeah. It's God. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't play about that. But the thing I would say is that, again, I believe, and I've told you this several times, but I believe that you are a tremendous talent. You are a gift to the world, and I think that people just haven't seen it yet. That's all it is. You haven't gotten the proper opportunities, and they're coming, and they're going to come, and as they come, I just pray that you will continue to bring people with you and open up more doors for those that are coming behind you. And so super excited about this. Really happy that you jumped on to the Sugar Dumplin Podcast, the official podcast of Sugar Dumplin. Big up yourself.
Let's go.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. I'm so happy.
It's so
for
good.
you.
Who are you talking with next? Because I'm sure you're going to talk like
I'm talking with a whole bunch of people. I don't know how these
Everybody.
episodes are going to be going, so I'm not going to say who, because I have no idea. How the sequencing is going to be. But I will say this, that I am excited about the next episodes that we are going to be putting out. We're going to be talking to our music sync manager, Michelle. We're going to be talking to Oliver Samuels, the Oliver Samuels. We're going to be chatting it up with one of our executive producers, Denisha Pendergrass. We're going to be speaking with so many different people. Nick, our editor, Nick Rose. Yes, Natanya Barrocks. She's the producer.
See that episode.
The producer of the project. So
that.
There's going to be so many different people.
Yeah,
we're going to be talking to Jasmine and Dominique on their art direction and their set decks and all this other stuff. We're talking to the story editor, Kern Carter. So many people, because we really want to give an opportunity, a platform for all the people that put in so much time and effort and work into this project. But we also want to showcase and tell people how much of a process this is. This is not just overnight. This is
right.
Every single day, painstakingly making decisions. So anyways, with that, we just want to say again, thank you so much, Chantal, for joining us for this conversation. We appreciate you. And for everybody that's listening, please check us out at sugardumplingfilm.com or Sugar Dumpling the Film on all of our social. And we would love to hear your comments, your thoughts, and your perspective. All right, talk to you guys later. Peace.